What is up, everyone? It is me, Albert, and welcome to the Bioshock podcast, episode 1.
I need you to protect me. Will you do it? Will you do this for me? Just this one last thing.
You're only making this hard for both of us.
I can see light coming from his belly.
Smother.
Get away, you filthy little
A man chooses, a slave obeys.
Look, Daddy, it's you.
So the podcast was officially born on the 5th of October 2019 in earnest. I had previously posted to the Bioshock Reddit community to gauge their thoughts and interest. There was a really great response. I had some stuff come up between that time and today, but that's all in the past now. Everything is clear, and if I may use a pretty daggy segue, you could say clear skies ahead, no clouds, although now there are clouds. This is getting really laborious. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that there is now a new studio created by 2K called Cloud Chamber. So I'm still in a bit of a dreamlike state about all this. I woke up this morning to this triple whammy news as far as I'm concerned, because the number one aspect for this, for me, is Kelly. Right, so I'm just going to read the press release, and if you don't know who Kelly is, you soon will. This is Kelly Gilmore, who is leading Cloud Factory, or rather Cloud Chamber. So here we go. 2K's new Cloud Chamber studio, developing the next Bioshock. The studio to re-establish team across 2 locations, Novato, California, and Montreal, Quebec. December 9, 2019, in New York. 2K today announced the founding of Cloud Chamber. Clown Chamber? Sorry. Start again. This is no Joker vibes, although that was a terrific film. Right, 2K today announced that the founding of Cloud Chamber, the newest wholly owned game development studio under the company's publishing label, a collective of storytellers eager to push the front lines of interactive entertainment by making unique, entertaining, and thoughtful experiences that engage the world. Cloud Chamber will build its team at 2 locations, 2K's San Francisco Bay Area headquarters in Novato, California, as well as in Montreal, Quebec, which marks the first ever Canadian office for a 2K studio. In addition, 2K announced that Cloud Chamber has started to work on the next iteration of the globally acclaimed Bioshock franchise, which will be in development for the next several years. Note how they said next several years, not even next few years, so it's going to be quite a while, and my immediate thought was 2027, right? To coincide with the 20th anniversary, I suppose that would be. Yeah, because 2007 was when the first one came out. That's a bit far. Several. There's the word 7 in there, but let's maybe instead of the 20th, maybe the 15th anniversary, something like that could happen. So, but we'll see. As we continue growing our product portfolio, we remain inspired by opportunities to invest further in our valuable IP, great people, and their collective long-term potential, said David Ismailer, president of 2K. Bioshock is one of the most beloved, critically praised, and highest-rated franchises of the last console generation. We can't wait to see where its powerful narrative and iconic first-person shooter gameplay head in the future, with our new studio team at Cloud Chamber leading the charge. A 22-year industry veteran with more than 40 games shipped to date, Kelly Gilmore will serve as Cloud Chamber's global studio head and be the first woman in 2K history to lead a development studio. Her wealth of experience transcends executive production, marketing direction, and public relations management, including nearly 2 decades of service to another of 2K's wholly owned studios, Firaxis Games, on franchises such as Sid Meier's Civilization and XCOM. Her role is based in Novato, so she'll be California based. This is her speaking about the news. We founded Cloud Chamber to create yet to be discovered worlds and their stories within that push the boundaries of what is possible in the video game medium, said Kelly Gilmore, Global Studio Head, Cloud Chamber. Our team believes in the beauty and strength of diversity in both the makeup of the studio and the nature of its thinking. We are a deeply experienced group of game makers, including many responsible for Bioshock's principal creation, advancement, and long-standing notoriety, and honored to be a part of the 2K family as stewards of this iconic franchise. Gilmore has tapped Ken Schachter to be Cloud Chamber's studio manager in Montreal. An executive with extensive experience in development, production, technology, and creative roles, Schachter will also be an ambassador for both the studio and 2K in establishing a significant company presence in Montreal. Prior to joining 2K, Schachter served as general manager for Zynga in Toronto, as well as founded independent game developer and publisher Trapdoor. He has also held notable positions with companies such as Gameloft, Autodesk, and more. Cloud Chamber's decision to open a new office in Montreal was supported by the Gouvernement du Québec and Montreal International. Cloud Chamber will join the company's family of wholly owned developer... I'll take that again. Cloud Chamber will join the company's family of wholly owned development teams, including Visual Concepts, Firaxis Games, Hangar 13, Cat Daddy Games, and 2K Silicon Valley. Those interested in pursuing career opportunities with the new studio may visit the Cloud Chamber website or 2K Careers for more information. Well. I hope today has been, just that I know that I'm not alone out there. I know that I'm not alone in this, but it feels really surreal to be reading about not just Bioshock 4 being officially confirmed in a press statement, but the pure awesomeness that is Kelly Gilmore leading this project, being the studio head, right? Now, with that, she's not the game director as far as we know. I believe Ken Levine was, as well as being the the CEO, he was also the game director for Infinite. So that very well might be the case. I didn't see anything on the creative side with her, but all that I want to say is that I've always been a proponent, and in a non-white knighty way. Like, I genuinely think women make the best leaders. They just have this innate sensibility to them, where they're really great at keeping tabs on multiple things at once, which is what an organization is. And just, I am a massive advocate for that. So right off the bat, that's brilliant. I love America. I love Canada. I love that they're both involved in this. That's fantastic. And I love that a whole other studio has been created for it. And Cloud Chamber sounds perfect. It's such a great name, and I really love the logo. It really reminds me of the movie Mirror Mask. I don't know if folks listening have heard of that, but it's a Henson movie. So, and please check it out. It's one of their lesser known ones, but it's kind of Narnia-esque in that way. But anyway, so a bit of background on me, I suppose, before we dive into the news, so you can get an idea of the context of me in the context of Bioshock. So all the contexts will now align. Well, so for me, I first came into awareness of Bioshock pretty much when it was out on demo. 2006 was when I remember, I think I was starting to make my way into the army way back in the day. I was aware of this game that was coming out, and I don't know, I think I remember playing a Snake Eater, a demo of Snake Eater, or seeing a game trailer of Snake Eater on like a video game demo disc, and then I saw Bioshock, and I remember playing that trailer a couple of times and just being really impressed by just the otherness of it. Like, it felt like it was a first-person shooter, but it felt just entirely different. And I think that that's the hallmark, really, of Bioshock. It is, to this date, I think the first, apart from I think the very first Halo in like 2002 or 2001 or something, is the very first, or one of the very few first-person shooters that I actually played. Because I really think, speaking of the word played, I think that first-person shooters are truly like kind of like, if you're not careful, it can really feel played out, because they're just really pumped out at such a fast rate, and so it's almost like an additional uphill battle to make that genre compelling, and really stand out. And Ken Levine did that just peerlessly, almost effortlessly, really, because he infused this medium and the genre in particular with such a, and he downplays this because he's just a humble person, but such a philosophically rich premise, and a metatextual premise, and fourth wall breaking premise, or aspects rather, and he sort of just did this as a matter of course, because he didn't really have it in him to make a boring game. Like, he himself knows that people are going to play this, and I love that when a creator really puts themselves in the audience's shoes and really has a care for putting out a product that they themselves would want to experience, and that they would want to be proud to say, yep, I stood by this and I created this. And that's why we remember Bioshock more than we remember insert whatever. Not disparaging the team, they work really hard, but it's just about what you focus your efforts towards. And I was about to say basically like Call of Duty, right? So and because those are just pumped out so regularly, it can really feel like, and you just get lost, and it just sort of dilutes it. So Bioshock is really like the premier first-person shooter experience, where there's a number of years between installments, and each time it is this really brilliant, obviously rooted in dystopia, brilliant stories with such amazing, worthwhile concepts, and where the first-person aspect is really tapped into for narrative reasons and and world building. All right, so it's really it's not just because it's an easy thing to do. Like, first person shooters are really easy to well, I'm not a game maker, but my understanding is it's like, well, basically it's a matter of deducing. So there's such a concentration of them out there that just even from an outsider's perspective, you would assume that it is because you're not modeling, really, if you're thinking about it. Like, there's a lot of animation you're not doing with first person, because it's just first person. You animate some hands in front of you or some animations in front of you, but it's so much easier because there's just less work to do, right? Because you're not making a full unless you're right up there with those studios that like to create the full skeleton and the full mesh and the full rig, so to speak, of the protagonist. You can really get away with just that. So it's very accessible, is my assumption, at least. I hope I'm not too out on a limb with that statement. And so it really, really has to be on the story itself to shine, and the mechanics to shine. And I mean, I'll be honest, like, for me, it's almost like 95.9% story with me. And that's why the last first-person experience that I had was Bioshock Infinite, and now I have to talk about Bioshock Infinite because it's one of my favorite games of all time. And as you probably just assumed there, it's like, okay, so and did you play it? It's like, no, I didn't actually. Initially, I just came into awareness of it. I found the art direction very interesting, the plasmids very interesting, and I came away with this sense of, wow, that's just cool. I'm so happy that there's a studio out there doing something different. And I will say, no FPS out there equals Bioshock in terms of world uniqueness and I mean, if we were talking Oscars, then production design, art direction, no other series can hold a candle to Bioshock. So it really is like firing on all sinister cylinders, in terms of all the boxes that an FPS could tick, right? So it is the leader of the pack on so many levels, and And in addition to that, it's like, yeah, it leads the pack on uniqueness as well, because even if Halo titles are a bit spaced out, they're sort of creeping towards the Call of Duty thing of just being so similar between themselves. And one thing you can say about the Bioshock games, and let's be honest, it is basically two, because you have Rapture and you have Columbia so far, right? Because there was sequels in that one, and unless they're planning on doing a sequel in the Infinite universe, right? Which is interesting because, Levine made Infinite in a way where it felt like the be-all, end-all sort of slamming of the door shut, essentially, of, from a certain point of view, of the premise of Bioshock, because there was that, again, spoilers for a 5-plus-year-old game, but at the end, with the multiple lighthouses is what I'm going to be talking about, and Elizabeth... she sort of alludes that there's infinite infinities, and it sort of taps in, really recalls why the game was called that, right? So, and from a certain point of view, you could see that as almost like a jaded way of like, because you go back to Rapture in that game, and there's a sense that, well, it's inescapable, must go back, and maybe it sort of is a commentary on how Ken Levine himself was sort of struggling to make a game that differentiated itself, and I wonder if the Rapture aspect at the end was included at Take-Two's request or something, or 2K's request of like, come on, it's a Bioshock game, we need to have Rapture in there, and then so he included it, but almost in a defeatist way, but then he fed that defeatistness into the narrative by infusing what Elizabeth was saying, with that sense of like, that's it, it's inescapable, there's always another lighthouse kind of thing. So you could see it from that point of view, and you could call it a closed book. However, the opposite end of that is the infinity aspect, and I really, really think that in a very important meta way, we need to be exploring the dystopia subject matter. Extremely important nowadays, where we are very much heading towards it in many ways. I think the regularity with which I invoke George Orwell's name nowadays it's almost like 2.5 times a day. It's just when I'm talking about the Orwell, the slow, the boiling frog metaphor, like we're just having all of these things, this intrusion of the all-seeing eye into our lives, right? And the crowd following and algorithms, it's just very, and the replacing of history and rewriting of history, it's just extremely dangerous. And but we need to be in that, really. And art, like 1984 destroyed me. I read it for the first time this year, truly destroyed me because of how effective it is, and it is probably the most worthwhile example of art that I've ever experienced. Like truly, that it affects the human race. Sorry. Sometimes the Australian will just slip in there. Rice, the human rice. I am Australian, but I never really absorbed the accent, even though I've been here for over 27 years. So there you go. Also, yeah, hi, I'm Albert. I'm Australian, and my main avenue into Bioshock is via Infinite, where I really jumped on board. Got the Songbird edition, the art book. I was head over heels, and still am head over heels for that particular universe. We have a singer here from Australia called C.W. Stone King. He physically looks like someone from the sort of Columbia era, right? I think this is 1918 or something. He just weirdly looks like this strange. I don't know if it was a physiology thing back in the day, but he resembles. He just looks like he's stepped out of one of those black and white photographs from back then, and he has a song called Handyman Blues, and this was coming out. This came out, and I came into awareness of it, or rather, started really repeatedly listening to it while I was learning about the Handyman. And his head actually looks like it could be one of the Handyman's heads. It just has this very particular 1920s kind of look to it, or 1910s look to it. Great guy. He actually came to Canberra, and I didn't go into all that stuff about Bioshock, but it was great to meet him, and I definitely recommend his music. Definitely fits in with the Bioshock vibe. But so now the doors have been blown open. We need to talk about Wizard of Oz. We need to talk about Alice in Wonderland. We need to talk about all of these touchstones, which are, it's just purely creatively fertile. We need to talk about Logan's Run. Right, and the reason I mentioned those ones is that I don't know if there was like a forum post back in the day, but someone spoke about something set in the jungle, and like the songbird equivalent would be this giant creature called the Cheshire. I don't know if that was like a rumor or someone wrote a very colorful post. Wizard of Oz, because Emerald City has a really interesting look to it, and we need to think about the common elements of what makes a Bioshock. It would be a city of some kind, and it would be a dystopian angle, and it would be strange creatures or strange, genetically modified adversaries of some kind, right? So, and that's the big daddies in the first one, and the songbird, right? So it has this really interesting aspect to it, which really actually it really enlivens the dystopia, the dystopic genre so much, and that's why for me it's the be-all end-all dystopian storytelling mechanism. Now we have some works that have happened since Infinite came out, like Man in the High Castle, stuff like this, reimagined histories, but there's literally this story which is one of the most important stories, which is the story of human liberation from dystopia, that needs to be told in literally all the context. This could be a prehistoric, set in, like, I don't know, incorporating dinosaurs or gargoyles or what have you. So it's tremendously exciting indeed. So I'm just keeping track of my app. I think, okay, cool, it's letting me record past 20 minutes. Awesome. So yeah, you've got a couple of ideas there of my speculations. I want to actually take your pitches, so please go to anchor.fm/Bioshock/message, and I want to take everyone's possible pitches, go as in detail as you like, about what particular dystopian kind of setup you'd like to see in Bioshock 4. We have a lot of time to build up to this, lots of upcoming, I think there's going to be at least 2 E3s where we'll be able to see possible teasers get news. There's nothing quite like the ramp up to the release of a project. I just came off of 70 episodes of the Death Stranding podcast. What a wild ride it was. Looking forward to speaking with some of the cast members of that one. I've got Tommy Earl Jenkins, who played Die Hard Man, coming on the show in February. I've got Kyle Card, who played the driver, should be in the next few weeks for that one, and then also Darren Jacobs, who played Heartman, who agreed to appear on the show and give us hopefully his like, if you can get that if you're a Death Stranding person. A little reference there, but so that's the first thing that comes to mind is just this explosion, really, of ideas of what could happen. But that's the common elements for a Bioshock for me. For the rest, I would love for this podcast to be a community that begins to build, people sharing their Bioshock stories, their Bioshock tattoos, Bioshock short films, essays, theses. I really want to hear from people who have used Bioshock in their academic pursuits, including using the material to thesis or speeches or what have you, Bioshock themed weddings, Bioshock themed decor, anything that this amazingly distinctive universe has catalyzed people to do. And again, I want to also hear my sort of community question to you is, what do you think it is about Bioshock which makes it enduring? My personal thing about the constantly evergreen, extremely renewably relevant aspect of the dystopian fiction, the cautionary tale, right? So cautionary tale mixed with amazing imaginativeness, that's a huge part of it for me. I mean, I'm thinking V for Vendetta, thinking 1984, thinking Watchmen, thinking even A Wee Happy Few to some extent. And what do you think of these common elements, and how and another thing I'll talk about on another episode is Bioshock's influences, and we'll inevitably dive into some of the Gore Verbinski stuff and talking about the other avenues in which Bioshock can be developed and grown into different media. I, for one, would love a prequel animation series about, or even live action. Sure, I think it would actually work. Get some of the Black Mirror people, a bastion of dystopian fiction in the contemporary sense. Black Mirror, get some of those folks on board with a series of some kind that sort of had that Black Mirror production value. And then also, Jonathan Nolan has mentioned Bioshock as one of the huge sort of motivating influences for Westworld, alongside I think he also said Skyrim was in there, and GTA, and think obviously Red Dead is a given. But so yeah, now I have another one that I want to talk about. I thought about this sort of in the day's doings. Third person option. I think that's almost compulsory for me personally, because Red Dead did it so beautifully where you can play the whole thing in first person. I think it would be an amazing. I think I've long said that. Well, this is a different thing, and I think Destiny should step the hell away and do a spin-off where it's just an entirely Mass Effect-esque just RPG, like straight up just quit teasing. You know what I mean? Like adding these little garnishes of RPG-ness to the essentially a pretty sort of standard first. I mean, again, it's a standard has two words, two meanings. Standards can mean like the standard, but then standard also has that meaning of average. For me, Destiny literally has two. Like it sort of is both, because it is both really. I played it for a while, and it's just really solid and just still just vanilla for me. So that's its own thing that I believe really needs to be fulfilled, and really should be. I think I still always have like not a leg. I used to have a leg, but I have maybe like a couple of toes still in that world, just sort of waiting to see if there's any activity that of that kind of level of taking that bold leap towards something which it really hints at. And for me, Bioshock, especially Infinite, made me want to just jump in, especially Booker DeWitt has such a great character design. It would have been great to see more of him just in that third person sense. Imagine if you're able to just zoom back out and just have that sort of Fallout / Elder Scrolls experience, right, where you can just or Arthur Morgan, like do that spin around and then back into first person, third person. How are we going to introduce open world, for example, and leveraging the next generation's capabilities for making enormous worlds? We can go much bigger than Columbia, much bigger than Rapture for sure. So perhaps this will be indeed like the first truly fully open world Bioshock game. So many directions we could go in. Coming up to 25 minutes, I want to keep this one kind of brief and just sort of, again, dip one toe into the oceans, one toe into the sky. I don't know how that worked. Anyway, because I always have to acknowledge both sides of Bioshock. A lot of the time, people try to kind of mostly edge towards the Rapture. For me, I'm almost entirely in the Infinity verse, or the Infinite verse rather. I just love Bioshock Infinite. I do love the original as well, and too, Minerva's Den and all that. I still have to dive into that, but so yeah, it is a testament, because I am just so not a first person shooter person like at all. It's a true testament of the power of a genre being able to be transcended by something that is so high quality. Again, there's that adage, when it is so high quality, it transcends a genre. That's why things like Star Wars, which was fantasy sci-fi, breached into the sort of public sphere. Boom! It was because it was done so well. Didn't matter the genre, it broke through that. Just like Halloween, with horror, so many things where it's like, yeah, it's a genre, but because of how well it was done, it bursts into that common standard that humans can just recognize of any walk of life. They can just recognize that quality, and Bioshock has certainly done the same. The very fact that Gore Verbinski was on board and actually did some prep for the movie, and I still think that's just like the It director, what's his name, Muschietti, with the Shadow of the Colossus film. That we haven't heard the last of that yet. And I also do the Fumito Ueda podcast. Looking forward to reporting. Hopefully in a couple of days, in a week or so, we'll be able to see a glimpse of his new title there. But that's all part of one of the many podcasts I do while between making abstract art. And I really look seriously, again, Bioshock messages, please send them to me. Anchor.fm/Bioshock/message. You can record straight to browser with Anchor FM. Also, Anchor.fm sends the podcast basically everywhere, so it'll start coming online on all the different podcatching apps in the next few weeks, so please look forward to that. Anyway, it has been so good to very quickly introduce myself, get some of the hype out of my system so I don't explode. It's so wonderful to meet all of you and to be playing on all your respective devices in your lives. I hope you're having a lovely day, and looking forward to speaking with you. Just chime in on any of the outlets. Look, we have Bioshock podcast basically everywhere, so you can find us pretty easily on the Twitter and Instagram. Take care, everyone, and until next time, would you kindly have a wonderful day.